Welcome to Metagrid 2023. In this video I explain to you the improvements of the newest version. And if you already have or had Metagrid, you will see that we have a complete new trading panel here on the left upper side. Here, this is our trading panel. We have a lot of more functions on this trading panel so that you now can do the most trading stuff directly here on the trading panel. In the older versions, you had to do more here in this red menu. If you click here on the M button, this menu opens and then you can set more things, especially if you trade with grids. You have here the grid settings. But in the older versions, you had, for example, to set a lot size here in the red menu, or the stop loss and take profit and so on. And now you can do this all on this trading panel without opening here this red menu. If you have the standard version of Metagrid, you will not see all the buttons here in this upper row. If you have the premium version with all functions, then it looks exactly like you see it here. And I explained to you the different buttons here on this trading panel. You can now set the lot size directly here on the trading panel. You see here these white buttons with plus. Here we have plus, plus, minus and a double minus here. With these buttons we can directly set our lot size. We can decrease and increase the lot size. For example, if I click here on the minus button, you can see that the lot size decreases by 1 micro lot every time I click on it. And if I click on the plus button, it increases every time I click on it by 1 micro lot. If I click on the double plus button, then the lot size increases by 1 mini lot. You can see now we here on 0.40, 0.50 and so on. And the same as with the double minus, the lot size decreases here every time I click on it with 1 mini lot. If you have a bigger screen, a different screen resolution, maybe the buttons look not the same way like I have it here on my screen. In this case, you have to change the settings of MT4. And we do not change the settings for these resolutions here directly in MT4. We have to do it on the program file itself. So this is my Explorer, and you can see this is the file. I double click normally and then MT4 starts. And here you make a right click with your mouse. In my case it's in German, so on your screen it should say here properties, and you click on properties and then you get a window which opens here, and then you use the tab which says compatibility. So and then you get again a new window, and here you can change the DPI resolution settings. And then it looks this way in English, and you have then to check override high DPI scaling behavior, and then you should get the same buttons like I have. Thank you, Paul, for setting me this screenshot. Paul, our admin in our Telegram groups, he showed me here this window and sent me this window that you can do it the same way, because he uses a big resolution screen too. And if you check this, then you get the same buttons like I have. Okay, let's get back to our trading chart. If we now want to simply open a trade, let's say a buy trade, we define first our lot size. Let's say we go with 5 micro lots. I have decreased it to this lot size, and now I simply click here on the buy button, and then Metagrid opens here this buy trade. As you can see, we are now in this buy trade. Now I can define a stop loss and a target without opening here this red menu. I could do it this way, that I set here the stop loss and the take profit before I open the trade. But if I do it this way, I can now set the stop loss and target with this button. So let's say we want to define a stop loss. I click here on SL, and then I get here this white line, and now I can move it to the position I want to have the stop loss, for example here to this low. And you can see also what I would lose if the candle, the price hits my stop loss from my how much money I would lose in this case. And now I define the target the same way. I click here on the TP button, I get this yellow line, and now I can set here my target. Maybe I set it here on this position where it says bank sell level. This is the level where Metagrid expects that a potential buy move could come to an end, that the banks begin to sell here or take profit. So this would be a good target, for example. And then you have your trade. You can every time, whenever you want to change here these lines. These are hidden lines, so your broker does not know these lines. It's a hidden stop loss and a hidden target. I'll show you later how you can change this in the 2023 version. You can also use hard stop loss and hard targets. So the internal stop loss and target system from MT4. I show you this later how we can change this, but this is how we open a simple trade. If we want to close this trade earlier, we simply click here on close all, and then this trade gets closed and the target and stop loss also gets removed in this case. Of course, you can plan trades with Metagrid too. In this case, we use here these two buttons for this, the limit buy or limit sell, like it says now, but you can change the method for the pending orders with this white button now. If you click here on it, it changes between a normal stop order and a limit order. You can see every time I click on this white button, it changes the order type. In the older versions, you had here changed the order type in the red menu. You can see this possibility is not done or cannot be done anymore in the red menu. I have deleted here out of the red menu because it was not very good. You had to write here text in the red menu if you wanted to change here the order type. So now we change the order type simply by clicking here on this white button. So this is a normal stop order. This means if we want to plan a sell trade, I simply click here on this pending sell. Then I get here this line, and now I can plan where I want to enter a trade. For example, a breakout trade. Let's say when the price breaks below here this last support, then Metagrid would now open here a sell trade. And of course I can plan here the stop loss. Let's set the stop loss here, and if I click here on TP, I can plan here my target. And so now we have planned really easy a trade, a sell trade, a breakout trade, and this is very, very easy to do. If we want to remove or cancel such a planned trade, so a pending order, we simply click on close all, and then this trade has been deleted. The same is of course with a pending buy. We simply click here, we get then our buy entry line. It's also a hidden entry, so your broker does not know where you want to enter the trade. We could now plan a simple breakout trade in the buy direction, and we do the same. We click on SL, then we can here plan our stop loss. For example, we set it then here. This is our pending buy, and our TB would be maybe here. And then you can always see how much money you would lose if the price hits the stop loss, or how much money you would earn if the candle or the price touches your target here. And again, these are all hidden orders. Your broker does not know these orders. They are not transmitted to your broker. They are only valid on your chart. Of course, if you use the hidden orders, you can't close the MT4. If you close MT4 now, all these orders are deleted and would not be activated. So if you use the hidden orders, then Metagrid has to stay open. You can't close it. Otherwise, Metagrid cannot, of course, manage your trades because MT4 is closed. It's very logical. So if you use the hidden orders, Metagrid has to stay open, of course. And then you can add another line. It's the cancel line. Here you can Metagrid tell when you want to cancel this order. In this case, we want to do a breakout trade here. If the price breaks above here this last high, and we want to go into a buy trade. But let's say we only want to open this buy trade when the price stays here around this area. But if the price breaks here lower, then we want that this order get cancelled. Then we use the cancel line. We simply click here on it. Then we get here another line which say cancel order. For example, if I place it here, when price now comes all the way here down instead of activating our trade, then this complete order get cancelled. Let's try it. If price comes all the way, I place it here, and if the price jumps over our cancel line, it would completely cancel our pending buy order. And by this way you can define how long such an order should be valid until it gets automatically cancelled. And let's see if the price jumps over our cancel line. Yes, it did it, and you can see now our pending order has been deleted, and this helps to define such pending trades a little bit better. And of course you can do limit orders too. We change simply the order type by clicking on this white button. And so if we want to open a buy trade, for example, when the price comes here to this area, because this looks like a kind of support, and then we want to open a buy trade here, so we have changed it to limit orders. We click on limit buy, and now you can define a buy order, for example, here on this kind of support, and it's the same. We click on SL and TP, and then we can define, for example, the stop loss for this buy order here, and the target maybe then here. And it's the same. You can do also a cancel order that you can define when this order should get cancelled if you want to do this. And the same is with the limit sell order. Let's say we want to sell. If the price comes to this kind of resistance here, we simply click on limit sell. We get our pending order. We move it here, and then we define here the stop loss. Let's say it here, and the target maybe then here. And then your order is done. Don't make one mistake. If you move this line over the actual price, it will immediately open a sell trade, because then the candle touched our entry line. You should not do this. So if I go here and move the line all the way down, then Metagrid immediately opened here this trade, because you moved a limit order over the price against the direction you wanted, and then Metagrid thinks you won't immediately open a trade. So you should know this. If you play around with the pending orders and the limit orders and the pending orders, you have to make sure that you not move the line over the actual price, because if you do this, this means you want to immediately open a trade. So stay in this case in this direction. But if you move the price here over the actual price lower, then this means you won't immediately open a trade. Now I want to explain you the AE button. This means active entry. If active entry is activated, we click here on this button, then it gets green, then active entry has been activated. If you click again, active entry gets here red and is deactivated. Active entry is a kind of safeguard which tries to hold you out of bad trades. It checks the price action for pending orders, and only if the price action is good, it will open a pending order. I show you this, okay? We activate active entry, we click on it, and now it gets green, so active entry has turned on, and now we plan here again a trade. Let's say we change to the normal stop orders. We want to plan a buy order. This is only working for planned orders, for pending orders, not for these normal orders. So let's say we want to jump in here in a buy trade, and when Metagrid now touches here, the price touches now the green line, the yellow line, and then Metagrid will not open immediately a trade. It will wait until price action confirms your trade ID. Okay, if you have active entry turned off, Metagrid will open immediately a trade when the candle touches here this buy line. If you have turned active entry on, then Metagrid will not open immediately a trade. If the candle touches this line, it will wait. Let's try this. I simply move the line now over the actual price. Then you can see it says buy entry touched, waiting for confirmation. Now Metagrid checks the price action in the background, and only if the price action confirms your trade ID, it will dynamically place entry lines on the chart and waits that the price touches this dynamic entry lines. We simply wait for this behavior now. Now you can see Metagrid confirmed your trading ID. It set an active buy entry. It did still not open the trade. It checked, okay, your trade ID to go into a buy trade is good, but at the moment the best entry point is this one here. So when price now touches this active buy entry line, then it will open the buy trade. And this active buy entry line will dynamically change now based on the price action. We are here on the M1 in this case, so Metagrid will check from second to second the price action and will define this active buy entry line new and fresh. Or if the price now touches this line, of course it will open this buy trade. But if, for example, if the price now goes down a little bit, then Metagrid will move this active line maybe to here. And then if it still goes further down, it will move it to here. And if it still moves down, maybe Metagrid tells you, okay, the price action has changed, your trade ID does not work anymore, and it will cancel completely this trade. So it's a very dynamically entry method, which can help to stay out of bad trades. Of course, if you want really to come into a trade exactly on the point where you defined and planned your trade, then you have to turn off active entry, because with active entry turned on, you will definitely get a different entry point than you planned, because Metagrid has to check in the background your trade ID and what the price action is doing. But this can help, for example, if you had a good idea to enter a trade. Let's say, for example, we have here support, and your idea is, when price comes to this support, I want to open here the buy trade. But let's say the price bounces not here and does not this. Instead of, it goes down and down and down. If you have active entry on, Metagrid will recognize that you want to go into a buy trade here, but instead price is still going down. Then it will remove your trade if the price action is bad, and it will cancel your trade based on the price action. So I use it very often for trades on the higher time frame, especially on such situations where I want to come into resistance or support lines into a trade. That Metagrid is my safeguard, which checks the price action, especially if I am not in front of my screen. Metagrid helps me to stay out of bad trades. Of course, you can use default stop losses and targets if you don't want to use these two buttons. If you want to set such default values, you click here on the M button in the red menu, and now we can set here firstly a stop loss. Let's say we want a stop loss of 10 pips, so we have to use 100 because Metagrid uses points. So 100 points are 10 pips, and we want to have a target for 20 pips, so it's 200. Then we click here on save, and now we have a default target and stop loss. If I now open, for example, here a sell trade, you will see that Metagrid automatically paints the target and the stop loss with the values we used. I click on it, and you can see now I have here my stop loss with 10 pips and my target with 20 pips. And so you don't have to use then these buttons. Of course, you can move the lines now if you want to retune or refine your target and your stop loss. And of course, these default stop loss and targets are working too for the pending orders. But if you for example, want to have not the hidden stop loss and the hidden targets, maybe you want to have the hard stop loss and the hard targets, especially if you are trading with prop firms. So if you do trading challenges, the prop firms, they want to have a fixed stop loss and a fixed target, which is used from MT4 itself. They will not most probably allow you to use hidden stop loss and hidden targets because they are not transmitted to the broker. And because they are not transmitted, your prop firm or the firm where you do your challenge does not know that you have a hidden stop loss and a hidden target. Even this prop firm and your challenge firm does not know this stuff. So you want to use instead the stop loss and targets from MT4 itself. You can change this in the Metagrid settings. For this, we make again a right mouse click, we go to Expert Advisors, or you click simply the F7 key. And then you can change it here. Use hard SL NTP. You double click here on it and you turn it to true. And then you click again here on OK. That we can better see the changes, I activate here the terminal, that we can see the running orders on our demo account here. So if we now go to our menu, you see that we still have our default 10 pips and 20 pips, 10 pips stop loss and 20 pips target. If I now open a trade, Metagrid will use the internal stop loss and targets from MT4, and this will be transmitted to your broker. Let's open again a sell trade, and you can see now we have still the lines from Metagrid, but you can see the target and the stop loss is set hard by MT4. And if I here move, you can see I can now move the MT4 targets and stop loss. This is the target and from MT4, and this here is the stop loss. The lines from Metagrid are still here. You can change it. For example, if you want to use the lines instead, you can do this too. Then Metagrid will, after some seconds, adjust the MT4 targets and stop loss to this. This checks it every 60 seconds. So if you use instead the internal lines from Metagrid, they will also convert it to the MT4 targets and stop loss after 60 seconds. If you wait for this, you can so still use the TP and SL buttons to refine tune your target and stop loss, but they will always convert it to the MT4 targets and stop loss. And you can see that the stop loss and target is used from MT4. So this means you can now even close here Metagrid and the MT4. If the price hits the stop loss or the target, it will still be closed, the trade. And your prop firm for a trading challenge sees that you use a clear stop loss and a clear target, so they know you are trading with secured trades. And if you don't do this, normally you cannot use Metagrid for prop firms. So this is the reason why I have added this hard stop loss and hard target to Metagrid. And many people still want to use this, because in case that your computer crashes, for example, and then you can you have a stop loss and a target still. And you see that Metagrid now removed the target line and the stop loss line and converted these lines again to stop losses. And you can use, like I told you here, this to move now, this hard target and this hard stop loss. Or if you like it more, of course, you can use here the target button. Then you get here again the target button, and now I move it, for example, to here. And after around 60 seconds, Metagrid will again convert this target to the new target for MT4. Then it will move this target from MT4 to here. It checks this every 60 seconds if you use the internal lines still. But if you have activated here the MT4 lines, you would normally use them to move a target and stop loss. And this is a really nice thing. If you use Metagrid, you can see now it converted my yellow line again to a MT4 target. And so you can now use Metagrid without any problems with a prop firm, so with a trading challenge, and the broker or the prop firm sees that you use a proper target and a proper stop loss. And this hard stop loss and hard target works also if you don't have default values. I remove the default values now from the red menu. I make here 0 and 0, so we have no default take profit and no default stop loss. I click here on save. And so if I now open a trade, let's do, for example, a sell trade again. Of course, we don't have at the moment a target and a stop loss because we removed these values. But if I now use here these two buttons, for example, the stop loss, and I move it to here, then the same will happen. Metagrid will, after 60 seconds, convert this stop loss to a hard stop loss from MT4. And the same if I use a TP, let's say I want it here, then Metagrid will, after 60 seconds, convert this hidden stop loss and hidden target to a hard stop loss and a hard target from MT4 itself. We will see this. We wait until this happens. And so after the conversion of these stop losses and the targets, you have the hard-coded stop loss and targets from MT4. And why does Metagrid wait 60 seconds to convert this? The reason for this is that you should have time to decide where you want to place your lines. If Metagrid always would convert every move you do here on these lines, then you would always transmit to your broker a new target. And maybe you notice if a EA like Metagrid sends too many requests to your broker, it can happen that this program will be banned from your broker, and it tells then you have too many requests, and then you have to write to your broker that it allows again to use this program. And that does not happen. This is the reason why Metagrid still waits 60 seconds until it converts a target and a stop loss to a hard-coded target and stop loss. So every time you change it, the 60 seconds begin fresh. So if you have decided where your target and your stop loss should be, then you simply wait max 60 seconds, and then Metagrid will convert this to MT4 stop losses and targets. And so we make sure that you don't get this request problems from your broker, and you are still safe to use this hard-coded stop loss and targets, of course. And now you see that the target and the stop loss has been converted here to Metagrid, to MT4, sorry, stop loss. You can see it here and here. It has now converted our lines to this hard-coded stop losses from MT4, and now you could close even MT4 or Metagrid, and still this target and stop loss would work in case that the price comes to this. But Metagrid is not only a very powerful trade manager, Metagrid is also a very powerful tool to analyze the charts, that you can find very good entries and that you can get the overall picture for every pair. And for this we have powerful analyzing tools built in Metagrid, and you can activate them by this green O button, by this TL and SR button. O stands for order blocks, TL stands for trend lines, and SR is support and resistance. If I click here on the O button, I will get then the actual order blocks for this day and for this pair. For this I switch firstly to the M15 chart, because this is the better chart to check order blocks. It's the default time frame to use order blocks. Of course you can use other time frames too, but you can see the order blocks the best on the M15. So I click now here on the O button, and then you can see Metagrid displays the order blocks. For example, you see here this blue box here. This is a very strong order block area. It's not only a line like you see here, it's a complete massive order sell block. Why it's a sell block? Because there are red lines in this or around this block. The green lines are buy order blocks and the red ones are sell order blocks, and these massive blocks are a signal that there's a massive, in this case, resistance in front of the candles. And if such a block is on a green line, like here, you can see we're in a green area, then this is a massive support area here. And you already see, if I zoom in, that the price bounced here on this massive block. And so if you had placed here, for example, a sell entry, then you had here made some pips on this massive block. And such a massive block tells you that price has normally problems to come easy through it. If you see that price does not react to such a block, let's say it goes here down, and it does not react at all, and it goes still down, then you know for sure that you have a very, very, very strong sell trend. If it does not react at all, in 70 to 80% of all cases, you will see that the price reacts on such a block like here. Even you will see reactions, they look this way, for example. These order blocks are really, really powerful, and Metagrid calculates these blocks by using external data and by scanning the history of the pair. And both data is used to calculate here these order blocks. And there's an own video for the order blocks in my playlist. I want not to go into the depth here, how we trade these order blocks and how they work. But you should know with this button you can remove them, or you can display here these order blocks, and then you can use them for your trading. By default, if you use Metagrid 2023, the analyzing tools are all turned off, but I show you later in the settings that you can set it that way that these order blocks or the other analyzing tools automatically on your chart without clicking here on the buttons. But my recommendation is that you use it by the default settings, because if you turn all these analyzing tools on, you will see it then later. If I show you this, then you have a lot of lines on your chart, and then you have maybe problems to see what is going on. I'm using it that way, that I simply click on the button that I can see firstly the order blocks, then I check the trend lines, and then for example the support and resistance and so on. I will show you later an example how I analyze the chart with these tools step by step, and if you do it the same way, I can guarantee you that you will see the charts a complete different way, and that you will find really good entries for your own trading. So these were the order blocks. The next button is TL. It stands for trend lines. If you click here, Metagrid will analyze the time frames up to the monthly chart and will paint all trend lines on your chart. Let's click on it, and then you can see now we have all these trend lines. The color code of these trend lines are the same like on my support and my supply and demand indicator. If you are familiar with this, or you have this supply and demand indicator, the colors are the same. Yellow stands for H4, white stands for H1, and so on. If you don't know these colors, it's very easy. You go into settings of Metagrid again with the F7 key, and then you can see here the color codes here. Green is M15, white is H1, yellow or gold is H4, and so on. Of course, you can change these colors if you want different one, or if you don't need, for example, the M15 trend lines, then you could here double click on it and you can change it to none, and then this trend line will not be displayed on your chart. But what we can see here on the trend lines is very interesting. You see, for example, here we have this white H1 trend line, and the price jumped over this white trend line, and from there on it was still go further up. So if you, for example, waited that this trend line got broken, like here, and then the price begins to move upwards from this trend line, then you could open here, for example, a buy trade. Or you can see here the lower H1 trend line. It has the same place as the yellow one. It's a H4 trend line, so a stronger one. The higher the time frame, the higher the stronger the trend lines. And you can see on the same place we have the H4 trend line and the white H1 trend line, and exactly here price bounced then and was going up. If you had waited for this, or maybe you had drawn here a little trend line, and you waited then that it bounces here and breaks then here this trend line and it goes up, then you could open a buy trade, and you see it had given you profit. Especially at the beginning, in case you are confused which color stands for which time frame, simply go with the mouse over such a line, and then you will see that Metagrid shows you what line it is. It says here trend line 2. This is the second trend line of the 240 chart, and it stands for minutes. So 240 minutes are H4, so 4 hours. And the same is here. If you go over this line, you see it says 60. So you know it's from the 60 minute chart. So it's the 1 hour chart. So you simply know exactly from where this trend line is. Or if you go here, you can see 15 minutes, so it's the 15-minute chart, this green one here. And so with the trend lines, you can check when a trend line got broken. And if I make the chart here a little bit smaller, you can see the next trend lines are here above a red one. Let's switch to a higher time frame like the H4. Then we can see the higher trend lines better. Here is a purple one line or violet line, if you go with the mouse, and then you know exactly from where this is. This is 100,080 minutes. Or 10,000, sorry, 10,080 minutes. So this here is the weekly trend line. It's a weekly trend line, but you will know these colors very fast. If you use Metagrid for some days, you exactly know which color is which trend line, and they are normally all powerful. And the red one here is from the daily time frame. So you see, when the price comes here to this area where the daily trend line is, then you should look in case for a sell opportunity, or if it bounces here on this strong weekly trend line, of course, you could also trade for a sell trade, for example. And like I told you, I'll show you in a minute how I use all this stuff for analyzing the chart, and then you will see the power of these tools. So let's remove again the trend lines. I click again here on this button, and then they are gone. And now we check the support and resistance line. It's the same in the same colors. If I click on it, then Metagrid will display the support and resistance line. It's the same here. Yellow is H4, white is H1. And if you go with the mouse over it, you get the numbers too, that you know from which time frame this support and resistance lines are coming. And you can see how powerful these lines are. This is an H4 resistance line, and you can see the price came here up, and it bounced exactly here on this resistance line on the chart. And the same you can see here below. We have here an area where we have first a very, very, very powerful line. If you go with the mouse over, you see it's a weekly trend line, and below is a H4 trend line. So we have not trend line, support. So we have two very, very powerful support lines here, and exactly here price bounced. So it was very obvious that the price could bounce here. And if you see and look here the price action, you see how powerful these lines are. Even here on the H1 support line, we got some reaction, but the most powerful lines are, of course, the H4 lines, the weekly ones, and the daily. We have here, for example, daily resistance here, because it's above the actual price. It has to be resistance, and you can see it bounced here on the resistance, for example. And as the price came here all the way back down, you can see here this yellow line worked as support because price comes from above. Then of course this line has to be a support line, and then you can see it bounced here, and we are here on the H4. Let's see how big this bounce was. With this tool we can measure this. So it was a bounce of, if you go to the high here, of 70 pips on this H4 support line. And when such a line got broken like here, then this line acts as resistance. Like here, you can see here really nice how these lines work as support first. Here it was support as it came from above, and then support becomes resistance. You should know this if you are trading. If you don't know it, you should do a basic trading course. And if such a support got broken, then it works as resistance, and you can see it here. And now you can see at the moment the resistance does not hold anymore. It did hold really, really nice here, but the second attempt, now it got broken. And if we see, for example, now this, that it then retests this here and then it goes up, then this is again support, and then we can here, for example, open a buy trade. So let's remove them again. And I told you already, it's not a good idea to turn on all these analyzing tools at once. You could do this. I showed this to you. We go again into the settings of Metagrid. For this, we click again the F7 key. And then you get some setting options. For example, you can here tell Metagrid, show order blocks at start. If you turn this to true, then the order blocks will always be on your chart. If you have the premium version of Metagrid, the standard version, the order blocks are not included. But if you turn this to true, then the Metagrid will always show you the order blocks without clicking here on this button. Then we have here show trend lines. If you turn this to true, the trend lines will be always on your chart, and you have here support and resistance. If you turn this to true, then you have the support and resistance always on your chart without clicking here this button. But I already told you it's not a good idea to turn this all on by default. I show you this if I turn the order blocks on, the trend lines on, and the support and resistance on. It's simply too much. We have to do this a different way, and I want to show you now how you should use Metagrid to analyze the chart that you find really good entry spots. Okay, here are the steps I am doing if I analyze the chart and to find entries. First of all, I use the default settings that all the stuff, order blocks, trend lines and support and resistance is deactivated by default, so that I can activate it simply by these buttons here. Let's move to another pair. Let's say, for example, the Euro Aussie. And I begin always here on the H4. The first thing what I do is that I check here the order blocks. And I click here on the O button, and then I look here the order blocks, and then I switch here to H1 that I can see them a little bit better. And then what I do is that I check here the big order blocks, and you can see this R is already gone, so the price was already on this order block, so I ignore this massive order block, but this is a order block which has not been tested so far. So I use here this rectangle tool. If this is not on your MT4, you can make here a right mouse click here around, and then you can customize it. And if you customize it, you find here on the left side a tool which says rectangle, and you simply insert it then on the right side. And if you then click OK, then you have this rectangle tool here. So what I do is I paint a rectangle exactly on the same place where this massive order block is. So it's here. And then I simply remove the order blocks again here with the click. And then I know, okay, here's a massive resistance above my pair here. The next thing which I do is I check the trend lines. So I click here on trend line. I do normally this, of course, on the beginning of a new trading day and at the beginning of the European session, so that I can plan the trades at the beginning of a session, but still we do it now ahead of the US session in this case from my time. And you can see now the trend lines. I go now to the H4 chart again, and I define and look which trend lines make sense and which are not. For example, if you see this white H1 trend line makes no sense at the moment. The price is here, and if I go back to the H1, you see it has already got broken. This white one has got broken this one. So this white H1 trend line at the moment makes no sense for my trading. I don't need them. I double click on it, and simply with the right mouse button I click here on delete. I delete these two trend lines. So I don't need the H1 at the moment. I would let the H4 trend lines on it, because you can simply see if I go to a lower time frame, it's very interesting what is going on here. It's a point where the two are on the same place, and so we have to wait if it maybe bounces hit here now. Price goes maybe a little bit up and then bounces here, or if the price comes through all of this, then retests here this line and then goes up until here and then goes down. So we have already now two trading opportunities where we can watch for. So we would wait what happens here on this line now, and we would wait what happens here. So if this line holds and the price begins to go down again, I would then simply here jump into a sell trade, for example. Or if the price goes through this line and cuts through this next H4 line, then I would wait that the price retests this line again, and then it bounces and goes up. And then I would maybe here open a buy trade with the target here, because this is a massive resistance. And with this you have already two trading opportunities on your chart where you can now watch and look. Or you say, okay, I ignore here these lines. It's too messy for me. I wait if price comes to this area here. And if you look, we have here the dynamic moving average, which is also painted from Metagrid. This is a dynamic moving average. Metagrid calculates the moving average for you, which has been respected the most during the last weeks. So you don't have to guess which moving average you should use. Metagrid does this for you. And you can see this dynamic moving average is in this massive block. So you could say on this pair, I only want to trade a sell trade when the price comes here into this area here. Then I want to open a sell trade because I have a massive sell order block here. I have the moving average here, which acts here its resistance too. So what we can do in this case, we plan a trade, we go to a limit order, we change it here, we make a limit sell, and then we move here our line in front of this massive order block. Then we use a stop loss above this order block, and let's say we use then a target maybe until again to this high here. So if we enter here, this could then act as target or resistance or support again, sorry. So if it enters here, then maybe it bounces then again here. So this could be a good target. And then you have already planned your trade, and you could now also place a cancel line that you say, okay, in case that it breaks here lower, and then I want to get this complete trade canceled. So if it breaks here below this support here, then I cancel here this trade. So we have already found here an interesting opportunity. And then what I do after I have deleted the trend lines, which I don't need, we did this already. We only used here the red one, the yellow one, because they are really looking good. You can see this is a really nice daily trend line. This could be also give a nice trade maybe during the week if the price comes sooner or later maybe through this order block. It bounces here a lot and then it goes up, and then we would look here for possible bounce on this daily trend line, because daily trend lines are very powerful. And if you see that it bounces here, we open here a sell trade. If it does not bounce here, it comes through, we wait that it retests this trend line again and it goes up, then we open here a buy trade. So we have also found a next trade maybe for the next days. This will not happen today. If the price goes further up, this happens maybe in 3, 4, 5 days. And so we have already again the next trade found on this pair. Now that we have defined our trend lines we want to use, we add the support and resistance. I click here. Now I get the support and resistance lines a lot, as you can see, and do the same now. I decide which support and resistance lines are really good and respected. I go for this firstly on the daily time frame, and I look here for areas where I obviously see, okay, like here, you can see this is obvious resistance here. This is also a good one. This is also a good one. They are really good here. This line is really good and this line is really good. So we need them. We can't remove them. And then I switch to the H4. And then I see here's this white H1 resistance line here. If I go to the H1 where it is coming from, I see, okay, yeah, indeed, we need this line. We can't remove it because you can see clearly this here could work as resistance. So we can't remove too much from then. What we can do, of course, we could remove this white line because there's also a yellow one, a stronger one, so that we can a little bit clean up the chart. I would double click on this white line and remove it and delete it. And so we have it really a little bit cleaned up here now. And so now we can again check based if we find more opportunities in our chart. And now we can see our plan was, like you know, maybe to come into a sell trade here in this area when the price goes here up and bounces maybe here. But now you can see, based on the support and resistance we added, that there is a resistance coming from here a little bit sooner as this block. So we could decide to fine-tune our trade. So I go back to the limit orders. This was our entry ID. Now I could say, okay, if there's a resistance before, maybe I try already to come here into this sell trade, but it's only an H1 resistance. It's not clear how good they will maybe work. But still, now we know here is also a possible resistance we have to know. And you can see here below, we have here support, we have here support. So we have to wait if this support here holds, or maybe if the price retests again here this support. Then I would wait really, because this is a stronger support line, that price comes back all the way up here, retests them, goes up. I would enter here, and then a logical target would be the bounce of this yellow trend line. You can see how fine-tune you can your trades. You have all the information on your chart, and there are no surprises. Sometimes you wonder maybe why did the price suddenly bounce here? Why? You entered maybe a buy trade here. Let's remove the drawings. Maybe you saw these two green candles and you opened then here a buy trade, and then suddenly price is going down. If you had Metagrid turned on with the analyzing tools, you would have known that there is firstly a H4 trend line in front of you. Secondly, there is the dynamic moving average, which gets mostly respected. And there is again a H4 resistance in front of you. If you see such a situation that you have a moving average, a resistance, a trend line on the same area, you have to trade this. You have to trade this. You can't miss this. You need to open here a sell trade. There is so much going on the same place, which points to a possible bounce. You have to go into a sell trade here. And you would not have known this without the tools on the chart. This is why I say Metagrid is more than a trade manager. It helps you to manage your trades, to open your trades, but it gives you every day for every pair perfect trading opportunity. Because this analyzing is so important, I will show you one more example that you get the idea. Let's switch, for example, to the pound yen, for example. So let's begin. The first thing I do is, again, I check the order blocks. We add it to the chart, and then you can see we have here a really massive order block. So I do again with the rectangle tool here, I draw it to my chart. Let's check higher. There's also an interesting block here above. So I mark it here on my chart. And after that, I remove the order blocks again. So now on my chart, I know exactly, and you can see how nice it bounced. If I had done this on the beginning of the trading day, because the order blocks get calculated every time at the beginning of a new trading day. You can see this is the beginning of the trading day. And then they are recalculated. And after this recalculation, if I had at the beginning of the new trading day done my analyzing, I had seen this block, and then I would know maybe there is a buy opportunity, and you can see how nice this order block got respected. They do not repaint. They stay all day long on the same place, okay? So if the new trading day begins, you have these lines and these blocks, and they do not repaint. 100% guarantee. You can ask everyone who uses Metagrid. They do not repaint. They stay 24 hours on the same place. So we have here found our two strong areas. The next thing is we check the trend lines with the TL button. And then we decide which trend lines do we need and which one not. For example, this H1 trend line is interesting because we are in an up move and we want to know when this trend line gets broken. So we let it on the chart. This other H1 trend line we don't need at the moment because it is not very helpful, so I remove it, that we get a cleaner chart picture. Of course, this daily trend line I let on the chart, because what you see is a very interesting area. We have a daily trend line on the same place like this massive resistance order block. So this is a really interesting area where I maybe open a sell trade. And now we have the special opportunity here. We have also here this H1 trend line. What we could do is we wait that price comes all the way back up here, where the daily trend line and this massive order block is on the same place. And now we wait that price bounces here and breaks here this H1 line. If it bounces here again, we don't open a trade. But if it breaks this line now, retests this H1 and goes further down, then we open a sell trade. Is this amazing? Is this amazing? Yes, I would say it's amazing, because if you have these tools on your chart, trading makes so much fun without surprises. But we have not activated now the supported resistance line, so we check them now too, because we want to know if we maybe missed there something on the chart. So let's activate them, and yes, we have missed something. There is a daily resistance ahead of us, and you can see at the moment here the H1 resistance has been respected the first time. Price came here up, got respected. Then it bounced here again on here. You can see it is so amazing. You can see here is the buy order block, and in the same place we have the H4 support line. Of course it has to bounce here. Of course you have to go into a buy trade here. And now the second attempt to break here this H1 line. H1 is a little bit weaker. You can see it came over it. Now it had retested it. And if it now goes a little bit more up, we open here buy trade. Target is here our daily resistance line. It's that easy. It's that easy. You find your targets, your entries, and no guessing at all what you are doing. So we have found another opportunity. The first idea was we wait to here and that it then breaks this H1 line. Now we can say, okay, when there is a daily trend line here, daily resistance line, we could also say we wait that price comes to this one, bounces here maybe, and then breaks here this H1 line. Then we wait again for a retest, and if it then goes further down, we open a sell trade. Target is again here then this white line, which then would act as support. And if it breaks this H1, retest it and goes further down, then our next target is here again this massive buy order block. It's that easy. You have to play around a little bit with, but if you use it 1-2 weeks, you can't and you will not trade without these analyzing tools. There's this button clean. I want to explain what it does. For example, if you draw your own trend lines, what you can also do, you draw here trend lines, and maybe you have some support and resistance lines added to the chart by yourself. And there's sometimes you say, okay, I want to clean them all. If you have them to remove them one by one, it can take a while. Simply click here on the clean button and Metagrid will clean away all external paintings and drawings. By the way, also external drawings by external indicators. So if you have external indicators on it and you click here on clean, it will remove all the stuff until your external indicator repaints, of course, all the stuff. But with this you can clean your chart. And there's this preview button. This button helps you to fine-tune your grids in case you use grid trading. I show you this. Let's add a grid by default. Let's say we want to have 5 grid lines, so for 5 additional entries with a distance, let's say, of 2 pips. I click here on save, and now let's say I make a pending order. Let's say we want to come here into a buy trade here. With the preview button I can check how the grid would look like. I click on it and now you can see, oops, it's a really small and tiny grid I made here. I have to change this. I go back here to my settings and now I use maybe a distance of 10 pips. So 10 is 100 in points. I click on it and save, and now I see, okay, the grid would look like that if the trade will be opened. And with the preview button you can check the grids and how they would look on your chart, and if they are good, if the distance is good. So this is a preview only for grid trading. And there are some more settings in the red menu, but for this you can find own videos on my playlist. Here, for example, you can let Metagrid automatically calculate the correct lot size if you put here a 0 in it. Instead of a lot size, if you use 0, then Metagrid will automatically calculate the correct lot size based on your risk. If we say, for example, we want risk 2% for every trade, and we put here a 0 as value in it, then Metagrid will dynamically calculate the lot size with a risk of 2% based, of course, on your stop loss. So with this you can automatically calculate the correct lot size if you want to use this. Then you can set, for example, here a take profit based on the percentage of the money you have in the account. So if Metagrid should close, for example, a trade if 1.5% of your money has been destroyed, then you put it here, then Metagrid will close a trade as soon as 1.5% drawdown has occurred. Here the same you can do here with the profit. And you can set a quick stop loss, for example, a value of 10 pips. And then if you have opened a trade, I show you this, I click here on save. We click here on a buy trade. And then you can see there's the quick stop loss move here. If you click on this, Metagrid will now place a stop loss, and you can see it here, 10 pips behind the price. We click on it, and then you can see now there is a stop loss 10 pips behind the price. So with this button you can very quickly place a stop loss based on the settings here. So if the price goes further on, every time you click on it, the stop loss will place 10 pips behind the actual price. So for scalpers, this is a very interesting function. Of course, you can set a trailer. This defines when the trailer should start. So if you say I want a trailer after the price is 10 pips in profit, then we would here place 100. 100 points are 10 pips. And here to define the distance of the trailer to the price. For example, if you want a distance of 5 pips, you may here 50. So if your trade is 10 pips in profit, then a trailer will trail 5 pips behind the price until the trade is over. Don't add or put here a 0 in it. If you add here a 0 in it, then the trailer will start after 0 pips. This means immediately when you open your trade, the trailer will start. If you don't want to have a trailer, you put in here a lot of 9s, click save, and then the trailer will not start because price will never reach a profit of this large value. But there's a own video for this specific things if you want to go deeper with this. This was my fast presentation of the main and new function of Metagrid 2023. You can see you get a complete trade manager with so many functions for every trading situation, and you get a complete analyzing package with Metagrid. And if you use both, you will see that your trading improves dramatically. You will see that you get better and better. Especially if you are new to trading, you have all these tools on your chart. You know where the resistance comes, where the support comes. And the one thing you could do to top all of this is that you also add the supply and demand indicator on it, which I also have coded. And then you get also the supply and demand zones in addition. So the supply and demand zones are not included in Metagrid. There's an own indicator for this. But begin, if you're fresh with it, begin with the stuff you have here on Metagrid, and then you have a very, very powerful tools on it. And you can then see perfect entries, targets, where you place your stop loss and so on. It's a really, really powerful package. Have a lot of fun with it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write to our support team, or you use the Telegram group I have linked below the video description. There are always helpful people, especially if you're fresh or new in trading or new with the Metagrid trading software manager. And then you will find here help in this Telegram group. Thanks for watching. Until the next time, and I wish you many, many successful trading opportunities and of course many, many positive pips. Bye.